about optimization first, and then data analytics will be presented by my colleague, Dr. Osama Bugar. My slides on related to optimization of transportation activities. Most likely, you will be using mathematics or mathematical techniques to optimize transportation. So I will mainly be focusing on this area. Optimization, by definition, is the making the best use or most effective use of resources. This is especially important for transportation and logistics, because transportation and logistics is a very competitive industry and not only cost-driven. So the costs are quite important, and mathematics with the optimization techniques can help us to improve our operations. We can save cost, but also with this project, as we aim, we can also reduce emissions and greenhouse gases. Next slide, Andres, please. So in this slide, I'm going to briefly talk about general optimization in transportation. When we look at from the decision planning hierarchy, there are three levels: strategic, medium, and tactical. Strategic, tactical, and operational level. Most of the transportation-related problems occur at either at operational level or tactical level. So the scope of this workshop is mainly focused on operational activities such as vehicle routing, scheduling, driver allocation. So I will be focusing only mainly these daily or weekly operations. Transportation professionals are tasked with reducing costs while increasing customer satisfaction levels. Especially this become more important with the growth in e-commerce. So customers are asking for next day, same day, or instant delivery. And this put a big pressure on retailers and logistic companies, because they have to consolidate. So they have to improve their planning, but also they have to make sure that the service they provide to customers will be same and will not be deteriorated by time. So this is a big challenge for logistic companies. And luckily we have mathematics and we have optimization tools can help us to improve our operations. Optimization describes all processes at improving the situation of parties involved in transportation. So this includes senders, recipients, and also the workers, of course. In here, I put a graph. Basically, this diagram, you can see different type of planning problems. We categorize planning problems in the literature into two, as online and offline planning problems. Offline planning problems, as you can imagine, these are slightly easier to handle, because if the data is deterministic, that means if we know everything about the input, the data could be customer demand, data could be the travel time, customer orders, the number of workers we have, the number of vehicles available at a day at a certain time in the planning horizon, we can make better plan. And also, if we have more time, so we can spend more time to improve the quality of our planning operators. Sometimes there might be some uncertainties related to some of the data, like customer data or the travel time, etc. Then we can think about the stochastic optimization. So that also helps, that also improve and come up with, can help us to come up with a more robust solutions. And that can be also very valuable for transport companies. If we are dealing a transportation problem in real life, that becomes more challenging, because you have to consider the real-time data from the vehicles, from the planning system, from the workers, from your warehouse, etc. So that's any disturbance of any unexpected event can create new problems, and you have to tackle as a planner. Luckily, we have solutions in three categories in mathematics. The last one, of course, more challenging, and you have less time to work on. So we can continue. Next slide, Andreas. Thank you. In here, when we look at the transportation optimization and planning, there are lots of tools available. depending on the size of the company, of course, you can develop your own tools and programs. So for example, if it is vehicle routing and optimizations, you can develop your own tools, or you can use freely available tools to optimize your solution, because you have to do this operation more or less every day, so you can build your own routine. This does not guarantee the best solution as optimization aims, but at least it would give you a good start solution, and then you can improve it. If you are relatively large companies, or if you have investment chance, so you can utilize by one of these software tools available in the market. Here's just we put a list of companies, a list of well-known transport management software companies available. As you see, there are different market players offering different solutions. More or less, they look at not just the routing, for example, I mentioned to you, but also they look at the whole process. It's including the warehouse management and also including the transportation. So they offer a complete solution to optimize the transport problems. The good thing with this software, they also offer new alternative solution for green logistics, that which I will come soon, and I will explain what I mean with the green logistics and why it is important for our project. Andreas, thank you. So I picked one problem, at operationally quite challenging problem that you may face, probably you are facing every day. So it is called a vehicle routing problem. It's first introduced in 1959 by Danzig and Ramsar. As you see, that's a quite old problem, but still this problem is the core of the operational level transportation problem. The idea, basically, you have a depot, you have customers, I numbered them in this figure, and the idea is to visit these customers and come back to depots. So as you see, this is a very challenging problem, because finding the right order or the sequence of the customers affect the cost. If you are trying to minimize distance, then basically you have to minimize the distance by looking at the distances between each location, and the total sum of the distance should be the minimum of all available solution. This is a small example, and to solve this small problem with mathematical model, it can take around a couple of minutes. If I include one or two more customers, it might take maybe 1 hour or 2 hours or even more. So as you see, when you add more customers, which in practice you have hundreds or thousands of customers, the problem becomes very challenging and it's very hard to solve. So that's why we need some tools and algorithms. And I just put this poster of the movie. So it's the Good Will Hunting. So George Danzig, basically, if you haven't watched, I can suggest you. So that genius guy come up with an algorithm. It's called simplex algorithm, and is the core algorithm in optimization. But it's not just only algorithm. So there are also other tools and techniques we offer in transport users to optimize their transportation. Mathematical modeling is one of them. Meta-heuristic algorithm is another one. Simulation is another option. There are lots of tools and techniques available in the literature. I'm part of this research community on transportation science, and the people like me trying to develop algorithms, tools to optimize transportation for companies. And there are quite good state-of-the-art algorithms available for the solution of the VRP. There's a small video I'll just want to play for us for a minute. So if Andreas can click on the link. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you. This is just a 3 minutes video, but we can go fast. It's one of the transport management software company. Initially, it was Quintic, Dutch company. It's bought by Delmia. And I just want to introduce one problem and how challenging it is. Thank you, Andreas. This was, as you can see, it's a 100,000 customers VRP time windows problem. It is a complex problem, so it's not a person to solve this. So that's why we use mathematical optimization techniques to deal with such complex problem. And the list I gave it to you, one of the companies also listed there. So they are developing algorithms and tools to help the planners to make their operations more efficient. In these slides, I want to talk more recent problems around routing optimization. So the first one, electric vehicle routing. We know there will be ban on diesel in many countries, European countries, and I believe it will be also case for the Colombia. That means the planners need to think about electric or alternative fuel vehicle technologies. But in theory, that would be fine, but this will bring another challenge because electric vehicles are limited by driving range and the and the battery capacity. So that will create another challenge for planners to consider the visiting recharging station. So as you see, that brings another dimensions from the planning perspective. So how much battery you should have, how much you should charge, up to 100, up to 80%, etc. So there will be additional questions which logistics companies will tackle. There are also other opportunities from transport perspective, using integrated public freight transport. There are many good examples around this. So basically, logistic companies utilize public services like a bus, coach, or tram, or even the ship to carry parcel. We know cruise ships carry, for example, parcel, or the airplanes, they carry domestic airplanes or international airplanes, they carry freights. We know also trams use cargo. There are good examples also, the buses, the intercity buses are carrying parcel. So this brings another challenge for logistic companies, but there are opportunities as such. We have two echelon delivery system, especially with bike delivery or NIV systems, NIV delivery system like delivery or food delivery system. Basically, the total transport is consists of two stages. The first one is done by the vehicle, and the second stage is done by vehicle, moped, or another resource, or someone is just walking on the street and delivering the parcel. So this creates another dimension to planning problems. The next one is pollution routing problem. This one also important, especially if you are running on the diesel vehicles, where you specifically optimize fuel consumption instead of minimizing distance, because we know minimizing distance doesn't necessarily mean minimizing fuel consumption. There are other factors such as vehicle speeds, the driver behavior, road gradient, temperature, the vehicle condition. All these factors can be included in routing. And basically, while you create plans, you consider all these factors affecting fuel consumption, because fuel consumption is one of the highest operational costs. The next one is the drones and deliveries. These are new services offered by customers. In the UK, for example, you see there are delivery robots delivering parcel in certain areas in Milton Keynes in the UK. Drones are also used to deliver certain products. Even though there are many limitations around these technologies, these are evolving and the companies are utilizing these technologies. Next slide, Andreas, please. So I'll give a couple of examples. I'm conscious about the time. So the Peapod is one of the online grocery company. They used to operate in the US. They come up with an interesting solution to offer warerooms. So basically, these are virtual grocery store where people can buy from their phone, or basically they can order their groceries and they can pick up. Initially, it started in the train stations where people, after they return, they can pick up groceries, but this extended to other areas where they created a virtual pickup location in the network so the people can collect their groceries order without going to actual grocery store. Later, this company bought by a Dutch company, and now they're Stop and Shop that is combined under Stop and Shop brand, and now they're operating in many European countries. So they're just offering a different channel for customer orders. Next slide, we have another example. Thank you, Andreas. At the Walmart, as you know, especially from quite familiar, they're tackling a grocery delivery routing and scheduling problem. every day they have lots of orders to deliver to customers. They have a large fleet. The fleet is heterogeneous, so they have different type of vehicles, and they have to think about the cost. They have to think about the time windows, and they are using state-of-the-art meta heuristics found by academics in the literature, and they utilize it, and they optimize their solutions. And because they are operating in a real-time environment, their result also quite competitive and gives them a great advantage over other retailers. In the next slide, we have another example. It's the well-known online retailer, Amazon. Amazon is not tackling the vehicle routing problem directly. Because they are so big and because they are dealing with a very huge network, they're dealing with the traveling salesman problem, which is a base problem of the VRP. So they try to look at optimizing their fleets. They also use different type of vehicle, electric, diesel, etc. And they're coming up with different, more sustainable and basically least costly routing solution. They're also investing in other technologies. Drone is one of them, and also delivery robot is another option. They're also thinking about 2-echelon, or they have click and collect system. So basically, because of the growth of the e-commerce, the retailers such as Amazon is looking for the better solution, because reducing cost is important, but also they want to offer sustainable and greener solution to customers. In the next slide. We have Tesco. Tesco is from the UK. Their partnership with another logistic software company, they invest on machine learning and optimization tools to improve their routing system. They have also similar problems like Walmart, but also they consider the vehicle types. They have many stores in the UK. They have to consider the capacity of the store, shift patterns, lunch breaks, the operating times, and also the traffic regulation is quite important when they when they want to make a plan for their transport activities. And they're also doing quite well, and they're improving. They're saving money, but also they're saving emissions, which is something we want to do, also achieve within this project. And the next example. Sainsbury, this is another retailer. They also partnership with Paragon. Paragon is well-known transport TMS provider. They use telematics data because they work on real-time vehicle monitoring and optimization problem. So they work with the real-time data and they update their routes based on the data obtained from the vehicles. Why? Because the traffic might affect the travel time, and that would cause problem for the remaining stops. And as you see, there are huge benefits achieved. The fuel initially, reduction in store turnouts, driver productivity, improves empty run, which is quite important because we know in Europe is 1 out of 5 trucks are running empty. That means basically they are doing just last mile to carry nothing or to just go to one place. So that requires more consolidation, better cooperations, but also this can be achieved by mathematical optimization. Thank you, Andreas. That was all. So now I want to hand to Andreas back. Thank you, Andreas.
Gracias, Emra. Vamos a continuar con el profesor Wessam Aburwal, que nos va a contar sobre muchos de los índices e indicators.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Andres. So my name is Wissam Abargub. I'm Cardiff Business School, a colleague of Emra. So thank you, Emra, very much. And you met Vasco before. So we're a team from Cardiff. And today I will be talking about KPIs. So my contribution to the project is related to measuring performance. One of the things that we are delivering with the project is a depository, which includes a toolbox and multiple dashboards. So me and Imra are contributing to this, and one area that we focus on is the dashboards and reporting. So once you've done all this fantastic stuff on your optimization and done your mathematics and simulations, and you've improved your performance, one important thing is to report on this performance. So reporting and case performing your making sure that people understand what you're doing. As you know, now with the changes in going around us, with the financial crisis, with the change on climate change, with the emissions, with the responsibility, companies are accountable for what they want, what they do, and they want to represent this. They want to make sure that this is very clear. Also, they want to provide, they want to have tools so they can learn from and they can benchmark against. So it becomes very important for industries or multiple industries to have some kind of standardized approach. And what we're going to do here is we're going to just give you a flavor of what's coming next in the next workshop, where we talk a bit more on KPIs and reporting. So we try to give you some examples on best practice out there. So you're all familiar with Reuters and familiar with Bloomberg. They're big platforms, they bank of data, and they have started to provide this platform, a space for companies to report on their performance. So give you a bit of context on what they do on the methodology base, and how's this been presented by different companies in the examples that Imra have used, and also in the transport sector. So Refinitiv is kind of the new database which brings Thomson Reuters and DataStream together. So this is what used to be known as Reuters. And they providing a platform for companies to report. So most of the data is either collected by Refinitiv and their agents, and other part of the data is input data from the companies themselves. So as you can see in the figure there, this is the kind of a score for a company. So each company is given a score that represents its performance against a model, which is they're calling it the ESG model. And the ESG model is basically environmental, social, and governance. We are interested in the environmental. So for the Hero Zero project, we structuring an index similar to this methodology, which is based on the environmental road freight transport. And under that category, you will, under that pillar, so the company performance score includes 3 pillars reported on Refinitiv: environmental, social, and governance. And each pillar includes a set of categories. So we're interested in environmental. You can see the categories or resources use, emissions, and innovation. And this is from top down. When it starts at the bottom-up approach, there is multiple inputs of data. These multiple inputs of data that includes objective and subjective type of data. This data then will structure your indicators, and each indicator is a KPI in itself, and these indicators comes along underneath these categories. So if you look at the kind of on the left, and that all these green slices or flour, that is basically score of Walmart. So they've got 85, they've scored 85 overall on the ESG model, and you can see that environment, governance, and emission and social is taking a big slice of that score. Obviously, weights becomes very important here, and weights is calculated differently from one industry to another industry, depending on the importance of each part. So that flour goes into slices. If you look at the environmental, for instance, and you look at the 3 categories, these categories, then there's another layer with the KPIs. So this is just a methodology to give you a context of what we're going to be looking at in the next couple of slides. So that's the methodology that is being used, and it's a good benchmark. This has now been globally implemented for Refinitiv. The data they have cover 80% of market cap. capitalization. There is a lot of companies, thousands of companies starting to now report and use this because there's a lot of benefits from using this. It's not only about sharing the information and showing that you are doing scoring and performing well. It's always about benchmarking as well against others and as a learning tool. So could we go to the next slide, please? Andres, could we go to the next slide? Is that all right? What we try to show in the next slides is pick examples for companies. So we start with Walmart first. There's maybe a bit of delay. Hopefully this Andres will switch to the next slide. But then we start looking specifically, just to give you examples of the companies that Emra have shared with you earlier. We want to see how they are representing themselves on this database, or how they're reporting on different KPIs. So on the Walmart slide, you will see each of these categories in a bit more details. So for instance, there will be an overall score for the ESG model, and then for every pillar there will be a score. So for instance, on the environmental one that we are interested in, it's an A-, and overall the score is A. The social is A, governance is A-, and then they have another interesting metric in Refinitiv, which is the controversial score, interesting one, which is relevant to news. So they do a bit of data mining as well and look at companies in the news and any negative information that is being recently reported for that company. The other thing is with this, you will see some profiling for each company. So market capitalization, how much revenue, number of employees. The other interesting index, they have diversity and inclusion index ranking. So they rank companies based on the diversity and inclusion, which is an interesting index. And obviously they will look at them in different industries. So Walmart is considered in food and drug retailing. And they look at you can look at within regions as well. So these categorizations similar to what we're going to be doing as well for Colombia and different regions and states. This is reported for the slide I have for you, which for 60.
And just stop sharing, and then.
Tranquilos, ya les voy a compartir. Buenos días, soy Mónica Pardo. Ya les voy a compartir desde mi computador la presentación.
Could you stop sharing? Could you let me share while you sort this out? Because I've got them open, the slides. So. Andres? Yeah, could you give me access to share, please? Okay, so Okay, could you see my screen? Is that all right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna just carry on from here. So as we said, this is the methodology applied by Refinitiv, and we use Walmart as an example. And in this slide, on the right side, you'll see a bit of text, which is basically the information available or the report on the company relevant to its performance. And like I was mentioning earlier, a bit of profile on the company. So market capitalization, revenue, number of employees, and diversity and inclusion index ranking, which is very interesting. Obviously, the industry, this is related to food, drug, and retailing. And then the countries, obviously the region, so we can categorize this based on some categories. And then you can see the overall score. In this category, Walmart is scoring second. So you can see at the bottom, the black, in terms of black color there, you can see in the graph, it's scoring second. So it's second in terms of the ESG score. And you see the letters for different. Now you can look at more details here. So what we see in this slide, we can see the pillars. The top ones is what we are interested in on the left. So the top category is the environment. So if you can see my mouse, this is the environment that we are interested in, but this is the social pillar. This is the govern, and obviously this is the high category. So within emissions, there will be, and I'll show you in a minute some examples. And obviously we have a workshop on KPIs. We talk about this a bit more details on how all of this is done. So you've got the performance, recently 2020 based on the previous year-to-year change. What was the weight of the score here, and then the attribute in terms of change. So you can look at the orange here represents current year, the blue represents the prior year, and you can see the improvement has been done. So for instance, here emissions, you can see with emissions, there is an kind of a good improvement based on the previous year, and so on. So this is the kind of level of details that are available, and we're using exact copy from Refinitiv to show you what the companies are doing. Now, also what you can do is look at peer review, and this is something again that it's very interesting to see. So you're looking at Walmart within the industry, and you're looking at their partners and seeing the kind of level of performance. So this is the first one, is only focused on the environmental pillar score, and here we have looking at Walmart in itself and comparing it or benchmarking it against previous years. So the first one looks at peer review, so other companies. So here we have Walmart, and then we have other companies, and then you've got their performance in terms of different levels. 91, you can see this is higher. So this is probably is what number one is, and this is the second in terms of ranking. That's why we had it second. So and we were looking only on the environmental, and then you can see in the second, in the bottom part of the table, where we look only at Walmart, and you're looking at previous years. And this is interesting for the learning and benchmarking against yourself. You see how you have dropped or increased in a specific category. And just mind, this is a general category. This is the whole environment. But when you start looking at KPIs, you can monitor your performance over a period of time or previous years. So that was a sample, just an example. I was showing you another example on Amazon, because you're going to get these, obviously slides will be distributed. So you can look at this and compare with the previous work that was presented by Emra. So you've got what the company is doing on optimization, and this is how the company is reporting their performance. And obviously Amazon is scoring top here in terms of performance, but same information. And interesting to see the diversity and inclusion and 103. One point I wanted to mention on the controversy and these scores, one thing that is very clever that they do on Refinitiv, they look at size by make sure that the size of company is not influencing the results. As you can know, bigger companies will have disadvantages with certain KPIs and advantages with other KPIs. So looking at size bias is very important, and this is something we will be looking at as well. Again, here, similar to previously, so I'm not just, but this is for your information. You've got now looking at more details about the 3 pillars here they use. We are interested in the environment, so we'll be looking at this in more details, obviously, in our next workshop. But again, you can see how they've improved on previous year. Same example as with Walmart, you can see the ranking, obviously looking at the environment and then looking at the company in itself and how it improved. The controversy, obviously, because this is a big, huge company, there will be a lot of negative news about the company. So the score is kind of in the D- area, but they're obviously doing very well. Now, to bring some content now, instead of just, these big retailers, I thought it would be a good practice or a good example to look at something related to the trucking industry that is being reported on the same database using the same methodology. So these are trucking companies in the United States. You got the name of the companies, you got the environmental grade, environmental score, and emission score. So this is reported data on Reuters. And you can see companies are, doing maybe okay, very well on the emission score, but the environmental score might be a bit lower. Some of them are really, low, but that doesn't mean it's very bad. Maybe the company have just started reported. We have to be very, very careful when we look at these results. These are, used for learning, benchmarking, and improving. So the interest is in the change in the performance that you do year in and year out. And so this is all new, especially for this industry. Very low number of companies in trucking is getting involved in this, which is very interesting to see how it develops. Now, we collected some data for some of these companies. So this is Warner, which is this company was scoring D. So this is the company we used as an example. We have 2 examples here, and we just pulled some metrics to give you an idea of what the data means and how this could be, presented in a certain way. So here, this company, you've got the profile of the company. So the company is a transportation and logistic company and is engaged in transporting truckload shipments of general commodities in both interstate and intrastate commerce. So you've got the kind of what they do. They look at final mile as well. They provide trucking services. And this is give you an idea of the certain type of data is that it's collected to calculate the score or give a score of D. Obviously, there's detailed methodology that we'll show you and we talk about in next coming weeks and so. But for the environmental indicator, very important. Some questions is just a yes or no. Obviously, so do you have a policy, for instance, for emission? Does the company have a policy to improve emission reduction? So a very clear policy, is it yes or no? That will add to the score. Emission reduction target, have you set a percentage of emission reduction target by the company? And then they ask you, or we collect the information, for instance, what is the target, what year, and what's the percentage? And then you talk about reporting CO2 emission in terms of equivalent emission in tons. Do you report this data? So the footprint for this company as it stands is you can see at the bottom here, and then some of the data that the company will input as well, and that will contribute to the overall score. So emission score and the overall score will be based on these different data points. And in this case, this company is reporting emission reduction target percentage of 55%, and they've set a year which is 2035. So just give you a bit of an idea of what it looks like, what the data. Another example for another company from that list of trucking companies, US Express. You might have heard of this company. Their score slightly higher, but again, like I said, this is all new. You're talking about the last decade, and even less companies started getting involved and reporting data on performance and KPIs related to the environment. So I think that's the last one from mine. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Yeah, I'm just going to stop sharing and pass this back to Andreas. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions.
puedes tú invitar a hacer preguntas, que me tiene totalmente bloqueado el computador? Camilo, ¿usted tiene internet algo?
Buenos días para todos, los saludos, soy Mónica Pardo. El siguiente paso en esta sesión de taller es invitar a los asistentes a que hagan sus preguntas a los expertos. Las pueden hacer en español y pues nuestro traductor nos ayudará para que nuestros expertos internacionales la puedan entender.
Me tiene todo bloqueado esto.
Sí, Andrés, tranquilo, ya los estoy invitando a hacer las preguntas. Entonces, adelante, los que quieran hacer su pregunta pueden levantar la mano y hacerla. Gracias. Al parecer, nadie se ha animado a hacer preguntas. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Aprovechen este espacio con nuestros expertos en logística verde si quieren hacer alguna pregunta.
O cualquier comentario también.
O aporte, sí, señor.
O si prefieren, pueden mandar sus preguntas por el chat de este evento. Yo las puedo leer en inglés.
Okay, good morning. I have a question. ¿Escuchan?
Sí, José, muchas gracias. Adelante.
Sí, sí, hola. Es para el profesor, disculpe, no recuerdo el nombre de él, el primero que presentó de Cardiff.
Sí, señor, Emra.
Okay. To Professor Emra, good morning. My name is Jose Incapié. I work for the National Planning Department in the direction of infrastructure and sustainable energy. Specifically, I belong to the logistics technical unit, and we help develop the national logistics policy in Colombia. And I am also a member of the zero and low emissions group of DNP, of TNP. I have a question specifically. Well, it was very interesting, the optimization model that you presented. I was wondering if you also consider in the model city restrictions, mobility restrictions. Have you ever considered these variables in the model? And how does these variables affect the reduction of emissions? Does it affect or does it help reducing the emissions? Like, for example, in Bogota and other cities in Colombia, many municipalities have promoted the restriction of the mobility of freight trucks. So I was wondering if this has an effect in the reduction or increase of greenhouse effect gases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. Yes, that's a very good question, especially in the transportation and logistics optimization subject. The topic of city logistics particularly looks at such issues. As you know, there are more people in the congested city zone, so that creates extra burden for people and transport user. And there are different approaches that municipalities and councils, putting in place to make the transportation, especially the freight transportation, is more efficient. In the UK, there are different schemes, especially within the city environment. So they use the congestion zones. Basically, in the congestion zones, not all type of vehicles available. For example, they don't allow diesel cars at the third level of congestion zone. For example, they allow alternative vehicles, but also there will be charge for using that. Where we live in Cardiff, they are also planning to put, extra limitations on people because they want to limit and reduce the congestion. My feeling, if you put additional such, limitation, especially for the diesel vehicles, because of the low speeds and also the congestion, the fuel consumption actually will be quite higher. When we look at the fuel consumption of vehicles, especially with the diesel vehicles, which is probably the majority of freight vehicles run on diesel engine, the diesel engine and diesel fuel. So the low speed are actually increasing the fuel consumption a lot. So limiting the speed, for example, putting 20 miles instead of 30, or reducing even more than 20 or less than 20 miles per hour, definitely will create more emissions. But I think municipalities looking from different perspective, they just want to punish, companies and to come up maybe, to guide them to come up with an alternative solution to reduce emissions. So probably their best choice is they don't come at all. With alternative vehicles, electric vehicles, hydrogen, I believe such limitations can work. But then again, it will take time, and probably we'll see when we have more electric or hydrogen vehicles or more cleaner technologies. So such limitation, I think, will be more efficient, and it will work for the congestion, not for emission. I hope my answers, you would agree with my answers.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? ¿Alguien quisiera aprovechar este espacio para hacer alguna otra pregunta? Acá tenemos algunas empresas. No sé si las empresas quisieran hacer alguna pregunta sobre el tema de indicadores, de optimización.
I have another question. I'm Alejandro to the Transit Freight Company.
Perfecto, adelante, Alejandro.
Okay, for Ebra, the first exposed, I think that what is the principal barrier that you think for the change or for the nitrogen into other technologies in the freight in Latin America? What do you think? What is the principal barrier related things in our countries for a green logistic and a specific transition for other technologies, especially nitrogen technologies? What do you think about this subject?
Thank you, Alejandro. I think my feeling, there is still time for such high, very green and efficient technologies such as electric vehicle, because due to limitation, basically, and like I mentioned, especially the recharging batteries still is not there, my feeling. There are trucks for light duty, for medium duty, but for heavy duty electric vehicles still not there. I think there will be some time. Maybe in 10 years, we will see these technologies on roads. But in short term or mid term, there are other alternatives. One of them is biodiesel. 5%, 20% biodiesel could be I think, a good solution, interim solution. At least it would reduce the diesel, so eventually the carbon emissions. I believe also hydrogen is a good technology, but it requires high investments, not just for companies, but for the energy companies. Several European countries considering heavily on hydrogen. There are many energy companies trying to convert the existing diesel filling station to hydrogen facilities. Hydrogen has advantage. The biggest advantage, it is fast to refill the tank, but the engine is expensive, so the vehicle itself. I think there will be some stages, long-term, definitely electric vehicle, and the mid-term maybe hydrogen, and for now, I think hybrid or biodiesel technologies would work well. Not just for Colombia, I think it's the same problem for everywhere, in Europe, in UK, and anywhere in the world. I think probably that will be the kind of roadmap for companies. But there's a need for support, to support companies and energy companies to develop their infrastructure, hydrogen infrastructure. I think that will be useful, because we hope that electric vehicles will be more powerful, and some operational limitations will be eliminated in the future, but still we don't know. It would happen for sure. So hydrogen is there. Why not invest in that? Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Emra.
Todavía tenemos unos 15 minutos adicionales si alguien quiere hacer alguna otra pregunta. Bueno, parece que nadie más. Yo quisiera hacerle una pregunta a Wessam acerca de los costos que tiene para las empresas implementar los indicadores claves de desempeño. ¿Qué tan costoso es? ¿Hay diferentes alternativas? O como una empresa que no tiene, digamos, que muchos recursos, o que todavía no ha implementado los indicadores de desempeño, ¿cómo lo puede hacer? ¿Cómo puede empezar?
Yeah, so thank you very much. That's a very, very difficult question to answer. I think you need to start somewhere, and it starts with in-house first. So, you need to look at the priorities first. What are the main KPIs you are interested in? I mean, normally when companies speak to us about dashboards and they've got data to look at, they want to understand, we ask them a very simple question. Say, what is the question you want to answer first? What are you interested in? What is most important for you? So this is where it all starts. I think in terms of costs, how much does it cost? This is very, very, very difficult to answer. There's no number. There's a range of costs depending on what kind of expertise you're looking for. Some companies do normally hire someone to do analytics or do data analytics for them if they think it's the right way to do it. They put resources on the side for this. Other companies would outsource the whole service. So you just need to have the conversation. You need to start talking with people. I think for the purpose of this project, being part of this project is very useful for you, because there will be a lot of learning. We provide a lot of resources as well, and participating in early days will bring partnership and collaboration, and there's funding, and there's a lot of very useful information. So I think you should start first by being part of the conversation. So you recognize that this is very important, that you need to think about how do you present yourself. How do you make sure that you measure your performance first? How do you benchmark your performance against others? How do you learn from this, and how to move forward? And you need to start with whatever resources you have. This is, we have a workshop, for instance, next week, I think, on KPIs. The guys will definitely tell you about this, and this will be a very good start, because we're going to start from scratch. It's telling you what a KPI is and how to think about this. So this is a good starting point here. I think you're in the right place in terms of costs, how much is going to cost the company. I think at the moment, just think about being involved in the conversation, learning, and then, you know, understand what kind of data you need, what kind of data you have, what is the questions you want to answer. So, you know, it might be similar to other companies, it might be different. So thank you for your question, but your question is very hard. So I look forward to see you next week, and we can have a bit more kind of, you know, discussion about KPIs, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Wesam. Muchas gracias, Hembra. Muchas gracias a todas las personas que lograron conectarse hoy. Esta semana es inusual en Colombia porque estamos en una semana de receso y muchas personas seguramente tomaron esta semana para salir con sus hijos de vacaciones. Entonces, digamos que no tuvimos la asistencia como lo esperábamos, como nos habían confirmado más asistentes, pero esperamos que haya sido un espacio valioso para las personas que asistieron hoy. Y como les comentó Wesam, la otra semana tendremos un workshop acerca de los indicadores clave de desempeño. Entonces, pues esperamos que la otra semana podamos ampliar, pues digamos, los asistentes y aclarar todas las dudas que surjan con respecto a este tema. Muchas gracias, Hembra, Wesam, Vasco, quienes son profesores de la Universidad de Cardiff y nos acompañan desde el Reino Unido, y a todos los asistentes y las empresas que nos acompañaron hoy, les deseamos un excelente día y muchas gracias por habernos acompañado hoy. Hasta pronto.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gracias, buen día.
Gracias, José, por tu asistencia. Buen día.
Mónica, te quería preguntar, ¿qué futuras reuniones hay en el corto plazo?
Sí, tenemos mira, la otra semana tenemos, el miércoles tenemos un workshop también sobre el tema de indicadores. Ahí por redes ya hemos publicado el link para inscribirse, y también el 21 de octubre tenemos un seminario en Cartagena, el seminario de Giro Cero, que va a ser 2 jornadas. Por la mañana va a ser presentaciones del equipo, también habrá un espacio para hablar de indicadores, un espacio para los profesores de Cardiff, y por la tarde tendremos en paralelo unos talleres de diferentes temáticas. Está el tema de financiación, el tema de indicadores y, si no estoy mal, un tema de innovación y tecnologías. Ahí por LinkedIn y Twitter estamos comunicando todos nuestros eventos.
Perfecto, dale, muchas gracias.
Bueno, cualquier
entonces,
cosa.
la otra semana.
Claro que sí, muchas gracias. Cualquier cosa, ahí está habilitado el correo Giro Cero Network, Giro Cero network@uniandes.edu.co. Entonces, cualquier inquietud también nos pueden escribir por ese medio. Si quieren conocer sobre nuestros eventos o información relacionada con el proyecto, bienvenidas todas las preguntas y comentarios.
Bueno, dale, gracias, buen día.
Gracias, José, buen día para ti también.
Buen día para todos, gracias.
Gracias, Alejandro, buen día.